Well, we've now seen what the ethical ideal is, what justice in the soul is. Justice is one of the greatest virtues. There's the form justice, which is, pretty close to the form of the good, the highest form. Now, okay, we know what it is for a person to be a just person. He has a harmony in his soul. His reason directs his appetites and his anger and controls his anger. Okay, but what does that have to do with society, with the state? Well, we're going to turn to what Plato's theory is in the Republic. And he starts out with the assumption, which he actually says, is that the state is just a big individual, or as you'd say, there's an expression, I think it's a Latin expression, the state is the individual writ large, made bigger. The state is the same as the individual, but on a larger scale. Well, how the heck can that be? What is it? And I think he's talking about, or he makes it clear he's talking about, that there are the three parts of the state, the same way there are three parts of the soul, and they're going to have to be properly balanced for justice. But God, what are these three kinds of citizens that he's talking about? And we'd probably divide it up very differently today, but, well, think of it. Reason, anger, and appetite. Reason. What kind of citizens are going to be the one who represent or who are analogous to the reasoning part of the soul? Well, it's going to be the ones that have wisdom or knowledge. Who's that? The philosophers. So we have the gold people, as he calls them, those possessing reason, wisdom, knowledge, the philosophers. The guys who are in my department, and they represent reason. Now, anger was the next one. Who are going to be the guys who exercise anger? Or let's think of it, moving the soul, you're acting on anger. You're mad, you take revenge. Kind of fight or flight reaction. Well, it's going to be kind of the policemen, the soldiers, the enforcers of the law, who for Plato are the silver people. The class of civil people, and those are the people who excel in anger. And in fact, Plato goes so far as to analogize this to what he calls anger is the philosophical nature of the dog. Now we have the guys representing reason, anger, and now we have all the people that appetite is the thing that motivates them. Their feelings are the feelings are the things that motivate them. What are those? Well, it sounds like those are all the people that do the productive stuff for us, that are in business, which he calls the bronze people, the craftsmen, the merchants, the farmers back in those days. I guess even in our day, a lot of the 1%ers, the hedge fund managers, the people in Plato, the people that some on the left and many academics, because most of them are politically left, are vilifying, making villains out of, making bad guys out of. Well, in Plato's view, they're not the 1%, because money is in everything, right? Knowledge. He's inheriting this from his teacher Socrates. Knowledge is the ultimate value. So those guys, the hedge fund managers, the guys that are pursuing wealth, they're the bronze people. They're the people that represent appetite. Okay, so now we have the three parts of the state, the three people the three types of people that need to be balanced, because remember, justice is harmony among the three parts of the soul of the state being their citizens. So we need the proper balance. Well, what is the proper balance? In the case of the individual, the proper balance was reason. Reason should control anger and appetite. Similarly, in the state, Plato's claim is going to be that the reasonable people, the people possessing reason, the gold people, the philosophers, should be the ones who keep the guardians, the soldiers, in check, and keep the people who are producing the goods, that is, the craftsmen, the merchants, in check. Keep them focused, keep them balanced, keep everything harmonious. So what's going to have to happen? And now we can go back to our allegory of the cave. In fact, let me flip back a few slides and get that picture back up on the screen. There it was. Wait, went back too far. Okay. And remember when the YouTube video that we watched was explaining it, he says, well, once the people, and if I can find once the guy from here exits the cave and goes out in the world and is looking at the sun, now the sun is analogous to the form of the good, the highest form. And the form of the good you're starting to see is a goal. That's why there's a word in Greek for goal. It's telos, T-E-L-O-S. And that's why we say Plato's view is a teleological view. That is, the good is to have everything doing exactly or coming as close to the form that it's supposed to be as it is. It's accomplishing its purpose. So the good of something is to accomplish its purpose, fulfill its goal. Well, the purpose of humans was to gain knowledge and wisdom. So the philosopher now is, if I could find that cursor again, lost, there it is out here staring up at the sun, right? The form of the good. Why on earth is he going to come back into the cave? What's going to force him? And notice what they said in the movie is we're going to have force him back into the cave so he can kind of educate and free these, well, maybe educate, at least keep the guys who are changed down, not hurting themselves, doing the right things for themselves, and try to actually unchain them. But notice they say he's going to be reluctant to go back in because nobody's going to like him, and part of this was a little bit biographical about Socrates and how he was regarded by everybody, Plato's ideal of the wise man, the philosopher, his teacher Socrates. But now what Plato's telling us is who should rule the state? It's the people who have knowledge. Are they going to want to rule the state? No. They're going to have to be forced back into the cave to deal with the everyday issues. So they're not going to let the philosophers, guys like me, sit on our offices, write our papers, deliver our lectures. Rather, since we have the knowledge, at least according to Plato, we have to go back into the cave and we have to be involved with government. Now, the other part of the theory that's kind of interesting, the part of the theory that has to do with political philosophy, is that Plato describes a whole system of education which basically is going to start you from your illusions and get you up to the level of belief. You know, it starts as a child. He describes a very communal environment where people are segregated out based on what their capabilities are, and they're given training, and then they're given training in reason, in mathematics, so that they can try to get out of the cave. And now once they start getting out of the cave, they're getting to the level of knowledge or wisdom. They're seeing the forms in the outside world, and ultimately they'll be able to see the good. So he even has a way of ensuring that there are gold people. Now, a lot of people haven't been so happy with his idea because notice what happens. It becomes sort of the dictatorship of the wise, the philosophers. They decide what should happen, and they should decide what should happen, and everybody else should follow them. Now, that certainly is not our ideal of government, but that's the one that it seems that Plato is sketching out as his ideal.